Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Angel Storm. I'm the founder of Ashes to Beauty Ministries, and today I want to talk to you about how important it is to take care of your body and to pay attention to signs in your body that you need to do something different. One of the first things that I start working on with my clients when they come on board with me is their baseline. So what I mean by that is just know where you are throughout the day, generally speaking. So when nothing is going on, like in this season of your life, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you sit on that scale? And really identify what makes you sit at that scale. So for example, for me personally, I'm probably sitting at like a 7 or an 8 normally. I'm just naturally optimistic. I enjoy life, and regardless of what's going on outside of in my personal circumstances, I'm going to find something that I love about life. So I know that for me, if I'm leaving that level, like whether that's good, something amazing or great happens, or something really bad happens and I go into the negative side of that scale, below a 7, I'm going to pay attention to those things. And this doesn't happen necessarily automatically. You do have to put in effort to really learn where you sit at this scale and pay attention to when you leave your baseline. But I want to talk to you really quickly about why this is so important. So if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I've been talking about how connected your body, soul, and spirit are. That you cannot do something to your body and think it doesn't seep into your spirit, and you cannot feed your spirit without seeing the effects of that transform your body. And so, and everything in between, right? And so it's very important that we don't look at ourselves as these fragmented things. However, there are certain entry points that things can come into us. So, things can come into our bodies and then they affect our souls and they affect our spirits. And likewise, things can come into our spirits and they can affect our souls and our bodies. And things can enter our souls, which affect both of those realms as well. And so paying attention to the things that your body wants, craves, desires, that's going to tell you a lot about what's happening in the soulish realm and as well in the spirit realm. And it's one of the easiest ways, if you are not familiar with how to necessarily interact or walk in the spirit, paying attention to your body is going to be one of the easiest ways to help you get more in touch with the spirit, okay? And so, for example, going back to the baseline again, I sit around a 7 or an 8 just naturally every day. So if something really great happens and I'm super excited or very happy about something that is occurring, I'm going to pay attention to that. I'm going to say, this thing lights me up. I love when this happens. I need to figure out what I did or what is happening around me to lead to that circumstance happening, because it is increasing my joy. It's making my life more full, and I want to pursue those things. But I don't want to attach the value of myself to that outside thing happening. So if that thing happens that makes me hit, a 9 or a 10 on my personal baseline scale, I'm not attaching my value to that thing. So I'm not worthless if that thing doesn't happen, right? I'm just paying attention and saying like, oh, I really like that. I enjoy doing that. I'm going to do that again, and feeding into the things that really brighten up your spirit, things that make you come alive inside. Pay attention to those things. When you're experiencing narcissistic abuse, and then when you separate yourself from the narcissist and you're going through the recovery, it can feel as though you're just always at a negative 10. Nothing is makes you happy any longer, and you've really lost that spark, the thing that makes you come alive, that joy in your life. And I absolutely understand that firsthand. And so but paying attention to your baseline, even if you're right now at a negative 10, be honest with yourself about that. Right now, nothing is bringing me joy because I don't know who I am. I don't know what to connect to. I don't know what exactly is going to make me come alive inside. And that's okay. It's starting from that place and just being honest with yourself and being realistic about where you are, so that you can then plan an accurate path on how to get out of that situation, how to get out of the negatives and start moving into the positive side of things. Just as equally as important as paying attention to the things that light you up, it's important to pay attention to the things that make you sad or bring you pain throughout the day. And this is where it's uncomfortable and it takes a lot of dedication to stick with the process. You know, this is not going to happen like, okay, I did it for one day and now I should be fine and move on. It isn't that way. It's going to constantly be a journey. But when you feel, even if you're sitting at a -10 and something just brings you super low, what was it that made you get into that place? Did something trigger a certain memory? Were you feeling a certain emotion of guilt or shame? And address those things. Don't just say like, that's what it is, I know what it is, and then do nothing with that information. Remember my video on information gluttons. You need to be able to take what you have gotten and do something with it. It needs to be transformed into fuel. So even though this feels like super uncomfortable, you don't want to really dwell on any negative things, and I absolutely understand that, I totally get it, you won't be able to move forward until you really address the things that are hindering you. You see, all of those things that you're feeling, any circumstances that you come into that trigger something within you to go and dip into the negative side of things, can be used for a positive, but you must understand that right now they're a weight to me. They are hindering me from progressing. They are not allowing me to move forward into the fullness of my purpose. And so really taking the time to address those things and to not allow them to remain a mountain between you and your destiny, but you address those things, and then you can start to turn them into fuel. So for example, as I was working through this process my own self, there had been many times when I didn't want to address those feelings within myself, but I noticed that the more I sat with those feelings, the more purpose that I could discover within them. But it wasn't until I was willing to sit down and address those things that I could find the meaning behind them and ways to turn them into fuel, and what that would look like for my own life. So for example, I know that a lot of you are watching this channel because, first of all, like, I've been through narcissistic abuse, so I can relate to you on a personal level, but also hope that I'm bringing life and hope into your life about how to not only recover but to thrive after narcissistic abuse. So I never have lost touch with those things that I have gone through, and in fact every day I ask God to not ever let me forget where I was, because it's the compassion, the experience of those things that allows me to connect to people on a much deeper level. It's not just I hear you, I see you, I understand that you're going through a rough time. It's not a superficial thing. I can remember in my spirit the feelings that I had when I was in that situation, and I really connect to people's pain that way in order to bring healing. And I talk about this a little bit on my Instagram page. If you haven't visited that page, if you don't follow me on Instagram, go check it out, where I talk about that a little bit more in depth. I definitely want to make sure that you don't feel like the reason that you have gone through what you have gone through was like the divine plan from the beginning, because I definitely don't believe that. However, I do believe everything is redeemable, even time is redeemable. And if you are willing to ask God for the purpose behind your pain, I know He's going to give it to you. And knowing that it isn't going to be wasted, that every single part of your story is going to be used, is, to me, I just found such comfort in it. And to continue to walk through this stuff every single day, and to really find then the fruition and seeing that it is true, you know, that there is purpose. I can see people's lives being transformed because of what I've gone through, and my ability to connect to them and help lead them, help guide them, help pull them out of where they are now into their purpose is so rewarding for me, you know, and it makes everything that I've gone through that much more meaningful to me. So your body, you know, is a great way for you to start walking this whole thing out. When you start to feel uncomfortable in your body, you'll notice sometimes you'll have an upset stomach, or something is just making you feel a lot of anxiety. Maybe you're sweating, your heart is start to beat really fast. You might feel lightheaded. When you start to feel those things, you need to relax and breathe into it and find what is the root of that. What just happened here? And sometimes you're not able to address the issue straight away. Like if you're, in a meeting or you're out grocery shopping even and it's super busy, you might not have the time to just sit down and be with your feelings. So keep a little notebook or put it in your phone, like in the notepad section. Write a note, identify what happened, and don't let that go though. At the end of the day, you should be doing a recap with yourself about what the things went good in the day, what things went bad in the day, what things, were your peaks and your valleys. I have a whole video where I talk about that. So you can learn about that some more. You really need to be doing these things, like implement this into your schedule. You need to start blocking off time, because the more that you just go through the motions and hope how over time it just kind of transforms and your life goes from 0 to 100 just magically, it isn't going to work that way. You have to recognize that this stuff is meant to transform you. It is a part where we need to be not just more aware and spreading awareness, but we need to be active in voting for people who are going to have harsher punishments for narcissists, people who are not going to elect judges who give narcissists full custody of children and ruin an entire generation. So there needs to be some practical things behind the experience that we've gone through, for sure. However, you cannot bring that change to any of those arenas, to any of those dimensions and realms, unless you are changed yourself. You have to exhibit the thing you want to have the authority over. So you need to have that in the spirit before you, and walking it out in the natural, before you can ever dictate it to other people, especially over a geographical area. So if you want to implement these things in your county, in your state, in your city, in your nation, you have to have such a level of change within your own self and see very, very clearly about what needs to happen and where the hindrances lie. And if you can't even see the hindrances within your own self, how are you going to see that for a country? So it's very important that you recognize the entire thing is connected. And the hard work that you're willing to do right now, your children won't have to do it. You can teach your children as they grow up about how to identify their baseline. Maybe that wasn't something that they were taught as a child, but you can implement that with this next generation, as well as the peaks and the valleys exercise. That's super simple and it's easy to do regardless of how old your kids are, and it's a great way to get your children in check with first of all, self-care, and also recognizing the way that they were built. Like, what? I don't really like crowds. Maybe I'm an introvert. Maybe I'm naturally inclined to just be by myself, and I need more time to be alone with my thoughts so I can process stuff. And that's okay. We need to learn how to honor the way that we were created. And your body is going to give you a lot of signs about how you were created if you're willing to pay attention, if you're willing to hear it. And so pay attention to the things that are going on in your body. Allow the time to sit with those things, identify what was happening there, and continue to dig up that root. If it's shame, if it's guilt, recognize that that is not from God, that is from the enemy, and he wants you to just keep sitting in your shame and your guilt and never getting over it. But when you take the time to address the root and pluck it up and you plant a new healthy plant there, I am loved. You know what? There's nothing that God cannot redeem. I am chosen of the Lord. I am made for purpose and on purpose. I am going to get through this, and I'm not just going to get through it. I'm going to be so much better than before I experienced it. I'm going to be able to give this information, this knowledge, this wisdom away to other people. I'm going to be able to help others who are going through this experience. My pain is not going to be wasted. You need to start planting that kind of tree in the place of the shame, of guilt, of all of the hurt, the pain, the rejection, the neglect that you've gone through. That really has to be a priority. Nobody else can do this stuff for you. There's people who can help you. Like, that's what I'm trying to do now in my ministry through this YouTube channel, specifically this video that you're watching. And I can help you, but I can't do that work for you. It's either you do the work yourself or the work doesn't get done. And if you don't do it, like, it's putting it off on another on another generation, on another person that is going to have to go through this pain. Remember what I said about all of the experiences that you have in life, and specifically the difficulties, the mountains that you face, are meant to pull out the part of you, a new version of you, who can not only conquer that issue, that mountain, but who has authority over it, who has dominion over it. And so until you can get to that person, until you are that person walking around every day, you're going to continue to experience the same situations, the same type of stuff over and over and over. And the same is true for, on a larger scale, as a family, as a nation. All of those things are true, because it takes that momentum in order to be able to walk successfully through it and move forward. You guys, I hope you are liking these new style of videos. Please let me know what you think about them. I want to do some other styles of videos as well about your body. If you don't know, I'm vegetarian, and I am very into, growing my own food and knowing where all of my food has come from. I love to cook, and so I want to do some more videos that show you about simple ways that you can implement self-care for your body, just through normal daily activities, like what you eat, where you spend your time, how you exercise, your sleep schedule, and things like that. I know this sounds basic, but until you start really doing it, and with intention, like, I am going to sleep right now so that I can not only dream with God, but that I give my body the sleep and the rest that it needs. My body is going to start rejuvenating itself during this time period. My cells are going to start recreating themselves during this time. My brain is getting a break from having to think and overanalyze stuff, and it's going to have a restful sleep. When I wake up in the morning, I'm going to be able to think so clearly. I have the mind of Christ, and all thoughts flow freely through my mind. You need to be intentional about what you're doing, because again, as long as you're just going through the motions, thinking like, oh, I know to eat, oh, I know to go to sleep, and you're not really intentional with your emotions, like with your motivation behind those things, you're not going to get the fullness from them that you should. Like, yes, if you eat something, you're not hungry anymore, but did you actually feed your body? And was it blessing your soul while you ate that food? So just things like this, that, there's a lot of little things that you can do to start taking care of your whole being, and especially as you are trying to recover from narcissistic abuse. So let me know what you think of these new videos, and if these new videos are helpful to you. And if you want to know more about me and what I do, go ahead and check out the links that are in the description of this video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, turn on the bell so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video.